Wow, Sean. We experienced.
Hello and welcome to Two Mic Minimum.
I was trying to be original, but here you are.
I think it's just easier we start that way.
We got transported to another world.
Yes, we are now. We went across the aisle.
We went across. The
ocean.
ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. You might have heard of that. It's one of 4 oceans in the world.
Yep.
But if you click this episode, you know that we got to interview one of Russia's most popular comedians, who's a man I've learned I cannot pronounce his name properly.
No, we cannot.
I tried with him. I tried pronouncing it, and he's just like, no, it's pronounced this way, and I'm like,
yeah, but he's our friend now. It's Denis.
Chuzhoy. I thought it was Chuzhoy.
Fuck it, it's Denis the Menace.
So first I said the first time I mentioned him, I was like, oh, it's Denis Chuzhoy, and I knew that was wrong. Yeah. But I thought Chuzhoy is when
he'll pronounce it for us, and he's going to give us a proper grammatical spelling.
But anyway, we have our interview with him. Really funny guy, really great guy. We recorded via Skype because he's in Putin land right now under his iron fist, so he can't come to this country.
Yeah, well, he's also financial.
Financial reasons.
So but we got to interview him. He's a really funny guy, really cool guy. Mm-hmm. We just wanted to give everybody a heads up. We did it over Skype, so it's going to sound a little different than it usually does. But basically everything came through sounding nice and clear.
Yes.
Other than that, we hope you enjoy this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and actually, let's promo. I'm on a show at Rhino Comedy on October 10th. Tickets are $10. Follow me on Instagram to hear more.
I recently got a gig at Broadway Comedy Club November 13th, which is a ways away, but I just want to let you know I'm doing shows in New York City.
Actually, I can also promote this now. My first show I'm producing at the Up Lounge in Nyack, New York is November 14th. Check it out. I'll post more about it on my Instagram. And I don't know if you can come to this one, but I'm also going to be at Pace University's Alpha Chi Rho Comedy Night. I'm not sure if they're selling tickets to that or if it's just for the frat dudes, but that's what I got coming up.
And also, just to let you guys know that we actually have a video of this episode of the podcast too, since we recorded via Skype. So if you want to see the video component, you can check that out on our YouTube channel, which is just 2 Mic Minimum. You'll be able to see Dennis's beautiful face. You'll be able to see Sean's voluptuous, gorgeous face, and you'll see probably a quarter of mine because my face got cut off a little bit, but that's because we didn't know what we were doing. All right, well, we hope you enjoy Denis Chuzhoy.
Denis Chuzhoy, guys. Thank you.
And here he is. Okay, so we're fine. We're fine.
All right, we were recording.
Sure, I am too. Yeah.
Okay,
cool.
Dennis, hello.
Hi. Please forgive me for my bad English. I have to say it right now because I can be really slow sometimes because I have to process my thoughts and translate them into English. So please forgive me.
Oh, no, it's no problem at all. Forgive us for us knowing no other languages at all, because I'm not going to learn Russian. I'm going to put that out there right now.
Yeah, I know 10 Russian words. Like 10. What? I know 10 Russian words because I dated a girl who was Russian for almost 2 years and learned nothing. And I went to St. Petersburg too, and I still learned nothing.
That's fine. That's just fine.
Yeah.
What words do you know?
Well, I know "Привет," "Spasiba," "Пожалуйста." I don't. I know "Koshka" because my girlfriend loved cats. I know "Koshka." I know "Собака." Miasa. She would always make fun of me because she was a vegetarian, so she's like, oh, you love miasa so much. It was funny when I was in Russia, I'd see the signs that say miasa, and I'm like, oh, miasa, and just point at them. I actually learned how to read Cyrillic too when I was in Russia, because what I would do is I'd find American fast food places, like for example, like Burger King or McDonald's, and I'd piece out the words. I knew it would say Burger King, so I'd piece out which letter meant what in the Latin English alphabet. And by the time I left Russia, I knew how to read Cyrillic. So I can start learning Russian because I know their alphabet now.
Now you can.
Yeah.
All right, but Dennis, hello and welcome to our show.
Welcome to Mike
Minimum.
Minimum.
You can see us. This is how we greet each other.
You're so sweet.
This is like the first time people are seeing this. This is the first time how we
But you do it. But you do it every time we record.
Every time we record, it's just the two of us, and we do that for ourselves.
That's nice.
Oh, so thank you for being on the show, Dennis. You're definitely our most interesting guest we've had on so far. We have a lot of guests planned.
Way to just shit on our other guests.
Well, I'm sorry. Are they from a country that's halfway around the world? I don't think so.
I mean, San Antonio is kind of far.
San Antonio it's almost this other country. But also, did they have 125,000 subscribers on YouTube?
No, they did not.
No, they do not. I believe it's 125,000, right?
Yeah, something about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, which is honestly for a comedian, like I think even in the States, like a comedian having that many amount of subscribers, that's really fucking impressive. Like you have people who are on Saturday Night Live. You have people who are big on Comedy Central, which is the main comedy channel in America here, who only have like 1,000 subscribers on YouTube.
That is true.
So the fact that you have like
they don't need to have their own audience in the internet because they have the audience on TV, and I don't do TV, so I need a place where I can publish my stand-up. So I need to build this audience on the internet. So that's the main reason I have those subscribers.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty great though in and of itself, building that audience. I mean, how long have you been cultivating these guys for now? Like, that's something to snuff at 125,000.
It's been like 3 or 4 years that I'm actively into building.
Wow, 3 or 4 years. That's a quick rise.
That is a quick rise of.
How do we do that?
You need a YouTube channel, and
that would help.
And you need to invent some way to publish videos every week, and they have to be funny if you do comedy, or some just reviews of the food.
Actually, I guess we can get into that.
So being funny, we're not going to YouTube following. That.
Right. Because I check out your YouTube channel occasionally, but I'm like, I don't know what he's talking about. Like, I don't know what's going on your YouTube channel. So what do you produce on your YouTube channel?
Oh, it's hard to explain even in Russian. We have this terrible social network. Oh, you have the same. You have classmates.com.
I've never heard of that.
Classmate.com?
I've never heard of that.
I haven't heard of it either, but we might have it.
It's really old for old dudes and so on and so on. And we have the clone. It's called Одноклассники, and it's like a social network for really old guys who are really like for rednecks, I could say.
Russian rednecks.
So,
Russian rednecks.
Yeah,
they're literally rednecks.
And they leave their comments on some news, and they are crazy. They're like, they believe in conspiracy theories. They hate Europe and the USA, and like they're really aggressive. And I just speak about my news of the week, and I read out loud these comments. And sometimes I don't even need to come up with a joke because they are idiotic by themselves.
So this guy is on the same page as me.
Yeah, where you guys just like reading insane, internet comments.
Half of this podcast so far has been me like pulling crazy stuff people say on Facebook and relaying it on the podcast and us making fun of it. And Sean gets so fucking angry because he hates people on Facebook. And I don't blame them because they're all sometimes really annoying.
Yeah, I don't care for people on the internet.
Once you have that see, I'm gonna use big words here because but I don't want you to not understand me. But like once you're behind the computer screen, once people don't really know who you are,
none of those were big words.
It's easier. Well, I was gonna say like bigger words, but I decided to dumb it down. But like once people don't know who you are and you're behind a computer screen, like you're more inclined to say whatever you want because you don't think there's like a lot of consequences to what you're saying. So that's why people go crazy online.
Having anonymity really helps.
Yeah. Do you know what anonymity means?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So he knows more English.
He's not a kid, Peter. He's just.
I know, but he's like he started off being like, "I'm sorry if my English isn't good."
That's,
so I'm like,
you are so classic American right now. I gotta speak down to this foreigner.
No,
I treat them as equals.
I'd say I'm very not classic American because I'm using big words.
No. All right.
Most of this country is not intelligent.
Yeah.
If I don't understand anything, you will know it by my stupid face. Like,
we can judge by your reaction.
Okay.
Just go on. Yeah.
How long have you like learned? Like, did you learn English at a young age?
Not really. I have watched a lot of MTV, and
I would do it.
Yeah.
And then I discovered stand-up comedy like 10 or 12 years ago, and at that point, we had only like George Carlin concerts specials translated, and other specials weren't translated. We had to watch them without any subtitles. So you just had to learn English to understand what like Louis C.K. says or Eddie Izzard. So with help of the stand-up comedy, I learned English.
Mm-hmm.
And now I try to translate. Oh yeah, the internet freezes.
So the top 5 comedians you know are George Carlin, Louis C.K., Eddie Izzard, me, and Peter. Right, that's the top 5.
Yeah, that's enough.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's cool. That learning it because it's such a different dynamic. I guess that most people learn English. I guess so. Like, what made you, I guess, really become a fan of these guys? Like, just because you wanted to learn English, or is it because you're like, these guys look funny?
We didn't have like a lot of comedy. We don't have Comedy Central or HBO in Russia. So we have a social media called VK. It's basically
I know of that
Facebook clone, and some guys just download stuff from torrents or from other websites, and they upload it to our social media. So you had only like 5 comedians on social media, and you watched them. So at that 10 years ago, you didn't really have a choice to who to watch. Like, okay, they have all the specials by Louis C.K., so you watch only Louis C.K.
So you're saying we can become big in Russia if we get on VK.
If we get on VK,
so if we share our videos on VK, we'll get.
Yeah, but now we have Netflix. So you.
Damn it!
Oh yeah, so they have a lot of talent available to them. That's crazy. So I guess one of the first things I want to ask you is like, what made you get into stand-up?
Like performing it yourself.
Performing it, yeah.
Oh, it's also we have this strange comedy game. It's called KVN. I don't know how to explain it. Like the teams from different universities from different cities compete in comedy. So they have judges like who shows like in swimming or in diving well 5.0, 5.0, 4.8. It's basically the same but with comedy. So we have these teams that competed in comedy, and this game sucks because like if you write jokes, you have to you give it like you have like 3 minutes of stage time top because you have a team like 5 guys or girls, and like you write jokes and you just give them to other people, and they get their laughs with your jokes, and that's so disappointing. So at some point I quit this game. I quit my team, and I tried to perform by myself and get all the laughs by myself. I'm
Which is how every stand-up
That's
wants
how
it to
every
be,
stand-up
you know?
feels, because improv is terrible. That's no teams. But no, I like the. That's awesome though. Like you take it on the road, and I guess from there, I mean, how much culturally do people know stand-up in Russia? It's like here, it's really the last 40 years or so, it's become like kind of a part of the lexicon. But I don't know how it translates over there.
Now, basically, stand-up in Russia is 10 or 12 years old. Like we didn't have it back then, but now it's a big thing. There are more and more comedians, more and more clubs in different cities. So we try to be like the USA with all those comedy clubs. But now it's growing fast, but it's still not enough. Like there are some cities where you cannot get a big room of audience. So it's in the middle of
and is like Moscow and St. Petersburg are like those the two big hubs for stand-up in Russia right now?
Yeah. Moscow is totally fine. Like we have, you can do 5 open mics a day. So it's
wow. That's like almost as good as New York City. That's crazy.
New York. That's
yeah,
awesome.
But Moscow's huge, so it's fine. And St. Petersburg is it's okay as well. So in the smaller cities, guys just perform once a week or so, and then when they feel that they hit the ceiling, so they just move to St. Petersburg or Moscow, and they grow faster there.
And where do you think you have to be? Like, would you say it's like Moscow over St. Petersburg or St. Petersburg over Moscow in terms of like trying to get to that next level of stand-up?
I guess Moscow, because it's like 3 times bigger or even more than St. Petersburg, and sometimes guys there is a guy that from my hometown, he moved to St. Petersburg, and then he moved from St. Petersburg to Moscow, like for growth. So he even hit the ceiling in St. Petersburg, and then he moved to Moscow. So Moscow is the ultimate goal for Russian comedians.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that would make sense. Like, is it? I mean, it's also like I'd imagine like the film capital of the country too, Moscow.
Yeah. All
So
the
it's
movies
like,
are made there.
Yeah, it's like it seems like where you'd want to be. Do you still do open mics in Moscow?
Yeah, sure. It's like the main way to test your jokes. I don't know why I thought when I published my special, I thought, oh, I'm done with open mics.
Yeah.
But why? If you don't have any new jokes, you cannot book yourself a show with 3 minutes of material. So you just go to this shitty open mic in the basement and start all over again.
That's funny. So you're building a lot of new material constantly. I feel like as you play your special, I guess, are you able to like get on every night as like kind of like a featured role at the clubs, or is it just open mics for you at this point? Like, because in New York we have this thing called being passed at the club. So if Peter got passed at the comic strip, which allows him to perform for like more real audiences as opposed to just some random
comics,
just to some drunks that show up at the bar,
jaded comics who don't give a shit.
Yeah. Also, how drunk are the audiences?
Not really. They were drunk at the beginning because like 5 years ago, people didn't even know that there's an open mic in this bar. Like they are sitting and drinking, and someone just started making jokes, and what the fuck? Why?
That
Why
sounds
do
right.
you do that? Please don't. Please let me drink. And they heckle you. And now people love stand-up. We have 2 stand-up clubs in Moscow where people know that there will be a comedy show, so they are fine with that. And yeah, you can get more time. Like we have these shows like in Comedy Cellar where you can have a spot for 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Yeah, that's fine. And I have my audience, so I can organize my own shows. So I just like I have half an hour of material. So I call my two friends and we do a show for 1 hour and a half for three of us. So that's our way to work.
That's pretty great, man. Be able to just have people come out to see you, though. You just put that word out.
Yeah. So you said you started. So did you start off doing comedy when you were in school, or was it?
Yeah, in school, but it was terrible. Then in university, it was less terrible, and then
Did you finish university?
Hmm?
Did you finish university?
No, sure, no.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Like we have so many comedians that we know who are just like they just stopped going to school and kept doing.
You do comedy.
Yeah. What were you studying?
I studied French.
That's interesting. Is that popular in Russia, French?
No,
No.
I lived in a small town where nobody knew why the fuck we studied French.
Yeah. It's like Napoleon tried to invade us and he failed.
It's never worked.
It's like, and that was the closest France got to Russia. And then
if you know French in Russia, you fail. It's you freeze.
So you started off essentially in school, and then how long have you been doing it, by the way?
Stand up, it's 5 years. Comedy in general, it's 14 years.
14 years.
14 years.
Yeah, but that sucked.
What did you do after you left university? What was the comedy you were doing after you left university?
When I quit this terrible comedy game, and I had the habit to write jokes every day, and I just saved them in my cell phone in the notes. And when it was 10 years ago, so my cell phone was really shitty, so I had no memory left in my cell phone. So I made a Twitter page. So it got kind of popular, and I got to write for the magazine, write jokes or articles for the magazine.
What magazine?
Write Maxim magazine with naked girls.
Maxim magazine. That's Maxim, awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Maxim magazine.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we don't get to talk to pretty girls.
And I tried to make everything funny, and after a year, I contributed from my town. Like I just sent my jokes via email, and after a year, they invited me to join the main staff. Like they suggested me to move to Moscow, and we moved to Moscow with my wife. And year after our president invaded Crimea, and the things
things got a little weird.
Politics got in the way.
A little rough.
And our relationships with the USA got ugly.
I think we're good. I think we're friends now, though. I think the United States and Russia are friends now. I'm kidding.
Just the three of us are friends.
Yeah.
I wonder what Putin thinks of us right now, because I know he's watching this right now, or one of his cronies is watching this right now.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm never going to go back to Russia. We're never going to go back to Russia now.
Yeah.
So I lost my job at the magazine, and I started doing stand-up because I had to do something. Mm-hmm. So now I'm here.
Yeah. So you started doing it 5 years ago, you said.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, so like you put out a special, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was that? What was that process like? Was that self-made, or was it? Did somebody else come up to you want to produce it for you, or is it just like I'm like I have a bunch of jokes and I want to get them all recorded in one shot?
Yeah, I had a small tour in Russia. Like I did 15 cities or so, and I felt I had no audience left that didn't see my material, and I had to record it. And we had this comedy festival in Moscow, and the guys didn't know how to promote it. So like they had venues, they had all set up, all the microphones and so on and so on, but they didn't know how to promote it, and they asked me to promote it. And I did a video on YouTube, and I posted on all my social media. And for that, they produced a special for me. So
wow, that's
they
great.
just
What's the special called?
it's called in English. It's secondary character.
Secondary character.
And like, is there like a theme to this special? Because I checked it out, but I was like, I don't know this language, so I don't.
Yeah, it's I try my favorite special of all time. It's Mike Birbiglia, My Girlfriend's Boyfriend.
Oh,
that's
love
cool.
that special.
Yeah, it's because it's the whole story. It's not just a bunch of bits. It's like a story. And I try to do that the same with my material. I didn't know if I managed to do that, but it's the story of how you live in a small town, and you understand that you are not the main character of of the life. And the second thing is when we shot the special. A lady, like I had a warm-up comedian for me. He did it like 10 minutes. And then a cleaning lady had to clean the stage before I come out, because it's black, and it had to be cleaned up before the shooting. And it was funny that we started shooting my special, and I go to the stage, and this cleaning lady shows up, and she makes me leave the stage to watch. And the audience laughed, and we left it in the final variant of the special. The lady cleans up the stage. I stay with the microphone like right next to the stage, and the title secondary character shows up. And we thought that would be like really clear that I'm not the main character.
That's great, man. That's an awesome.
It's a great metaphor for
This is-
comedy. Like you have this big special,
like this
a
is your-
packed audience, and then you go on stage, and the cleaning person's just like, "You need to go."
Yeah, that's really funny.
just shoos you off. That's cool. So you started off, I'm assuming, in the like mic circuit of Moscow when you started doing stand-up.
I did.
Yeah,
I did two mics in my town where I used to live, but we didn't have audience. We had like 30 people. We had 5 comedians and 30 people that wanted to see your comedy. So it wasn't enough, so we stopped doing that.
Wait for an open mic?
Yeah.
So there's 5 comedians who sign up for an open mic for an audience of 30 people, and you guys all decided that's not enough.
But, next week they are the same, so you have to come up with the new material every week, and that's not healthy.
No, it's not. It's very hard to do.
Yeah, and in Moscow you can do like 5 spots a day, and with totally different audiences, so that's way better.
So when did you start getting on more and more shows? Like after you were doing mics a lot?
I actually didn't. The thing is that I had my own audience, and we started organizing shows by ourselves, me and my wife. So my wife called the venue. She's like, "Is the next week available?" They're like, "Yeah." and I post on my social medias that I have a show in this venue, and they show up. So we do not work with some guys that organize shows. We do everything by ourselves.
That's cool. It's comic run.
Yeah,
which is the way it should be.
It should be.
And you know, I say this a lot, but in like New York City in particular, there's like a big takeover in terms of who's putting on shows in that city, and a lot of shows in New York City are becoming comic run. Like the big clubs are still available and like they still get audiences, but there's so many comics who are putting on their own shows, like either in Manhattan or Brooklyn or Queens, and I actually like doing those shows a lot more than club spots because you know there's a chiller vibe. People are usually less uptight. You know, you also get a younger audience, which I particularly like. So like it's actually cool. It's cool to me when comics take over producing rather than leaving it up to whoever is the gatekeeper at clubs. So that's cool. Is that like are a lot of shows in Russia, are they like comic run, or like do comics have control over the comedy landscape there?
We have both. Like we have this big TV show called Stand Up, and they are producer organized. So they have a special department that organizes all their concerts. So it's special managers that do only the concerts for their comedians. And the rest of comedians in Russia, they do everything by themselves, because it's that stage of stand-up in Russia where you don't really have managers, because managers don't see the point of doing that, because
Right.
there's not enough money in comedy right now. So comedians do it all by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of stand-up in Russia, you said it became a thing like 10 to 12 years ago. How did comedy start taking, or stand-up in particular, start taking form in Russia?
We had a lot of different comedy shows, like sketches or some monologues, but not stand-up, so something artificial. And these guys started to be interested in stand-up comedy, in American or English stand-up comedy, and they wanted to do it in Russia. And it's actually started not from small venues. It started from the TV. Like they decided we're doing a TV show, so they gathered like 10 comedians, and they made them perform for a year in clubs. And after that, they shot a pilot with those 10 comedians, and they sold it to the channel. And they did a season on TV. And after that, people in different cities started to make their open mics because they wanted to get this show. Like, it's a strange way to organize a comedy scene, but it came from TV, and now it comes back from the smaller cities to this TV show.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
No, I got what you were saying.
Yeah, it started just from it started definitely from the American and probably British influence as well, because stand up as a medium is very much started in like English speaking places.
Yeah, I mean most people started in the Friars clubs in the 50s in America, and then really kind of spread out from there. I think where do you think comedy in Russia is going? Like, where do you see it in 10 years from now? Is it even more popular, more great comedians out there? Like, you guys touring, you have your own, more produced specials, or where do you see it going?
I guess it's going toward YouTube stand-up. Like, we have the big TV show, and we have comedians that publish their shows to YouTube. And they get tons of views, and they get their own tours. And now TV comedians envy YouTube comedians because it's easier to produce it because the TV show it's huge. It's like they have huge team, they have huge venue to shoot it, and it's all really expensive and long. So and you on YouTube you can film yourself with an iPhone and publish it, and the next week you have 100,000 views, and you can organize a show for yourself. So I guess in future that we will have more YouTube content with stand-up, but I don't think that it will be special. I think it will be shorter sets of bits of stand-up, like you have with Comedy Central. Like you can open YouTube or Instagram TV. I don't remember. And you have
every website's got TV now.
Yeah, everyone has their own little thing.
And you see just short bits of stand-up, and it's more viral and more convenient for people to watch it.
Yeah, more quick sets.
Yeah, and here in terms of not necessarily with stand-up, but like a lot of people create web series on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because they can create like whatever they want without anyone who is an executive telling them they can't do it.
Yeah, like if you know who Andrew Schultz is.
He performed in Moscow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know everybody that's performed in America.
Yeah.
God,
I remember that. I remember that from your email. It's like, oh, Andrew Schultz is going to Moscow. I'm like, oh yeah, that dude.
I don't read all the emails in our group. Peter does most of the work.
Yeah, you were saying?
Yeah. What was I saying?
Fuck.
I'm better at the interrupter than you.
When you're talking about Andrew Schultz.
Oh, Andrew Schultz.
Yeah.
I'm just saying he puts all of his videos now on YouTube, and they're all much more short, 5-minute bits and clips, and him just in the scene. So I can see that. I think it's kind of a universal where that's going, the comedy direction. People just want to have slower attention spans. So yeah, I think I see that.
Yeah, no, definitely YouTube. YouTube is the way to go, just because it's
everyone has it. There's only one YouTube.
Honestly, if you look at my phone right now, like look at the usage, it's like 10%
mainly porn,
10% internet use, whatever that may be, 10% calls, 10% messages, and 70% YouTube.
Yeah.
Like it's insane how much time we spend on YouTube. And honestly, YouTube's really good at sucking us into watching more videos. Like, you get those recommended, and they're always intriguing for some reason, because like the algorithm knows how to hack into your brain and make you click on the most random stuff. I've been on like a 2-week Penn and Teller binge, because do you know who Penn and Teller is?
I know, but
I
know.
Magical comedians.
They're American
magician.
They started off as comedians, but now they're magicians. They do shows in Las Vegas now.
Yeah.
I've just been on like a 2-week binge of watching their show where they have magicians come on and try to fool them with their magic, all because one video popped up in my recommended that was so clickbaity. So I watched that video, and now I haven't stopped. So yeah, YouTube. All you gotta do, Dennis, is you gotta make sure the YouTube algorithm hacks into people's brains so they watch your videos. But also that they should be in English too, if you want the American audience. That is, because it's like yeah. Well, that's like I think what we definitely recommend you to do. I think you can like upload videos in English and have them with Russian subtitles, or you can upload them in Russian
with English subtitles,
and then say in the thumbnail that like
I don't think Americans will watch something in Russian with subtitles. I even heard some jokes in American movies that I will not read while I'm watching movies now. So I guess you have to publish something in English. And Russians are okay with subtitles. We're used to it.
So that's the way to go then.
Yeah. Good old American imperialism.
just to be like, I'm going to cater to the people who aren't us.
Yeah.
And you'll have to deal with it the secondary way. So that makes, I definitely think like you definitely could use material that would intrigue an American audience, especially if you just because of how frequent Russia is in our news media now. Your country pops up every fucking day. because of one man in particular.
Yeah.
So I think as of now, the American audience is very intrigued by the country in general. So I think now is the time to capitalize on that, before our president gets maybe removed from office. But he probably
He's
won't.
got another 4 years.
Not if your president has anything to say about it.
Yeah,
anyway, I'm never going back to Russia.
You're banned. Bro.
I am definitely banned. They're never going to give me a visa again.
Yeah.
Fuck. What else did
I think we're just wrapping up here with only a few more questions for you. I guess, obviously you're a big to-do. Who are some of the other like local Russian comics who you think are great and really people should check out?
Russian comedians?
Yeah, Russian comedians.
And will you? They all perform in Russian.
So, I mean, we are now an international podcast. So.
Well, I'm just like wondering, is there anyone else who's like doing something that you think is very unique in terms of stand-up?
Yeah.
I would be interested how you would react to Evgeny Chebatkov. It's a friend of mine. He's lived in the USA and Canada for several years, and he's a really interesting comedian because his jokes are in Russian, but his delivery is very American. Like he's even really black. He's the whitest dude in the world because he's ginger and he's really pale, but his delivery is black, so he's really energetic and he talks about race, cultures, and so on and so on. And I'd like you to check him out.
Okay. Oh hell yeah!
I'll just give his name one more time, please. Danny.
Yevgeny.
Okay,
we'll do this recorded and we can write it down.
Yeah, and we'll tag him in the post probably.
Yeah.
I'll send you the name.
That helps.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's a difference? Because I know it's in terms of American delivery of comedy and British delivery of comedy, it's very, very different. Do you feel like there's a difference in the way Russian comedians deliver material or like the topics they really touch upon?
In terms of delivery, we are more deadpan, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
Because Russians are not very emotional, and sometimes we just tell jokes, and it's you who decide whether it's funny or not. I don't care. Like I tell jokes, you decide. And in terms of topics, our TV belongs to our government, so you cannot really joke about politics or dark topics and so on and so on. The internet is more free, but still it's more of observational comedy, like relationships, airplane food, and so on and so on.
Okay.
Like it's not really dark and so edgy. But there's a big need, big demand of political comedy. We have this comedian. He's not the funniest guy in Russia, definitely, but he built an hour about politics, about Putin, and so on, our elections, and his last special has 16 million views.
Yeah. Wow. And he's still alive?
Yeah, everyone wondered why.
That's
because you say there's a big demand for political comedy. And I'm like, yeah, it's because all the political comedians are in jail.
Yeah, I was just like, well, I mean, these comedies came so much of just speaking out against social norms, and I guess because you guys are a little bit more regimented, I guess, like, are you afraid when you're doing comedy? Sometimes you might actually get in trouble for it. In America, we can say do whatever the fuck we want.
For now.
Yeah.
Like until you are really popular, you can do wherever you want. Like I can joke on my shows where it's 100 people. It's fine to joke about anything, but when it's on YouTube and it has 500,000 views, you start to worry.
Yeah. So, it's the trade-off. It's like,
I'm really popular, but no.
No. Yeah. Someone's gonna fucking bang on my door. You know, it's funny. I'll get into this little story. When I came into Russia, I was actually really scared. You know, even though like I was told by my girlfriend and her mom, like, oh, you know, it's fine, and it was fine. Like no one, I wasn't. People thought I was Russian. Like people came up to me and started asking me stuff in Russian. And I just like, I don't know what the fuck you're saying. My girlfriend would have to intervene. But when I was in Russia, the first morning I was in Russia, like we were staying at a family friend's apartment outside of St. Petersburg. Like when I wake up, I just hear these like big Russian men, and you know, I feel like a lot of people in Russia, they have very low pitched voices. I hear these big Russian men speaking outside my door, and I just think like, oh fuck, I'm gonna get thrown in jail. Like I don't know what law I broke getting into this country, but I feel like I broke some law. And now
no, but if you're from a different country, Russians are really kind. Like
yeah, that's what I noticed. Yeah, very kind.
Like we hate America in general, but if you're American and you came to Russia, we'll love you. It's strange, but that's true. So and we had this world championship, soccer world championship, and we had dudes from all over the world, and they could do anything they would. So you can walk with a gay flag, or you can drink beer in the street. Cops are fine. Like, oh, he's from Argentina, he does wherever he wants. Like we put in jail only Russians.
That makes sense. Yeah, because they're the people who actually have somewhat power in that country.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. But so you were in New York City. What dates?
This February, like we had a vacation, and we went to see New York and Los Angeles, and we had this crazy idea to perform.
So what's where did you go up? Did you go up in Los Angeles as well?
No, we were tired, and we went to the Improv to watch other comedians, and I didn't. It's you know, in LA it's so hard to find anything, and
it is.
Have hard parking.
Few hours to get anywhere, and so we decided not to perform. New York is way better for that because it's just mobile, even on speed.
No, New York City is like, I mean, the thing about Los Angeles is there's some comedians who've like made it in Los Angeles, but it's more of a city for actors than it is for comedians. Like New York City is a city for comedians because there's so many like shows happening, there's so many mics happening, and the public transportation in New York City, like people like to give it shit a lot because like it does suck at times, but like it gets you around pretty much anywhere you want to go. So like being able to go from show to show, I mean, that was like the point of like one of Andrew Schultz's specials. He's like, oh, I'm doing 4 shows in like a night. And it's like, yeah, you can do that. And I don't think there's anywhere else in the world you can do something like that. Yeah. So was the mic at the Climate Lounge? Was that the only mic you did, or did you do other mics?
No, only that.
Okay.
Do you have any?
We were short in cash, and for some reason you have to pay for performing.
Yeah. I was about to say.
Welcome to New York.
He was like, I'm short in cash, and he goes to the most expensive mic.
Yeah,
in New York
those are the bad ones.
Those
do you have any plans to come back to New York?
Oh, I'd love to. We were saving money.
I'll do it. Well, if you do, let us know, man. We'll get you on some shows.
We'll get you on some shows.
I'd love to. Yeah.
We can, I'm not going to pretend we have
some power.
We have some power. We don't have
a small amount of power.
We're not the comedy,
but I'll get Russian immigrants to the show. We'll do a big show.
Yeah, we can do exactly.
I mean, I know where the Russian immigrant town in New York City is.
Yeah,
because I'd go there all the time to see my girlfriend.
Yeah, it's called Trump Tower.
Trump Tower.
Yeah.
It's spelled I don't know what the Cyrillic characters are called, but it'd be like written out like
all right,
TPU. No
one can see this, Peter.
I don't know.
He's trying to spell it in Russian.
I'm trying to be culturally sensitive
in an audio medium.
So I think just last thing I want to ask you, like, what's your what are your comedy goals as of now? Because I know you say you want to like build like that American audience, that English speaking audience. Do you feel in addition to that, there's more you can also do in the country, in Russia, the country you're in as of now?
Yeah, I have a really small goal, but I guess it would be useful for everyone. We're really difficult with dark topics, like everything about death and disease and so on and so on. It's really bumming audiences out, and and when I had this tour, everyone told me that, oh, your bit about death is so depressing. You don't do that anymore. Yeah. And I decided to build an hour about death, and my next tour is called Jokes About Death, and my dream is to do like a really dark hour, like to be the first dark comedian in Russia, because it's not a thing in Russia. We don't have any guys like Jeselnik, yeah. Like I want to be like him, like do really dark stuff.
He's my favorite, so.
Yeah, that'll gain you some traction if you're just like separated from the crowd. Like, oh, this guy, like his material is fucked up. Like that'll. I mean, that's how Anthony Jeselnik got big, was the fact that he just was so unforgiving with what he said, and he did it so fucking perfectly. So that's cool, and I like how like far into the works are you with that show?
I've built an hour, but it's. I have to tighten it up because there are some weak spots. So, and I have like 6 months left before I plan to release my special. So I just write, perform. Like I have an hour, but now I'm not happy with that. So I need to perform, and that's it.
Okay.
That's cool.
All right. Well,
wow.
Dennis, thank you so much for joining us, man. This was awesome.
Thank you for having me. I hope we'll meet in real life. So,
yeah, definitely.
Stay in contact and everything.
When you come to New York, we'll definitely have you on again, and it'll be more fluid because
we'll have you live on air.
We'll have you live on air rather than like the 1 second delay. That's always awkward. This is like the first time we're doing it via Skype. Yeah. And hello, everyone. This is the first time you're seeing our faces. Yes. So.
I know. I'm way better
now.
looking now.
Yeah. But Denis Chuzhoy, did I pronounce it correctly?
Chuzhoy.
Chuzhoy.
That's why I only said the first name.
Oh, forget it.
I only dated a Russian girl for almost 2 years.
Russian
was being spoken over me all the time. Yeah. But thank you so much. You're one of many comedians who have accomplished more than us, but yet want to be on our podcast.
They'll still talk to us.
But they'll still talk to us. So that's awesome. So we really, really appreciate having you wanting to be on this podcast. And we wish you luck with the show you're developing.
Thank you so much. We in Russia, we really want to connect with some other countries, because sometimes we feel isolated because we have all our own experience and it's too small. Like sometimes you just don't know what is your next step, because you in the USA, you have several generations of comedians and you know what to do and what not to do, and we just like blind guys in the darkness. So we want to connect, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Dennis. Yeah. Man. Keep in touch. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
And this has been
another episode of
Two Mic Minimum.
So nice.
All right, bye, man. Have a good one.
Bye.